Good morning, everyone. We'll give the rest of the class a few moments to begin. Okay, so just a couple of announcements before we begin. So today is our last class. We do not have class on Monday. However, your last couple of things that you need to do are due on Monday. So if you have not finished correcting your midterm or you never started, there is an assignment on SitLearn called Midterm Correction Makeup or something. Basically, it's like 3 essay prompts. You just have to pick 2 and write a paragraph for each, and I'll give you those 5 points for your midterm exam. That needs to be emailed to me by midnight on Monday. Additionally, if you didn't go on the jail tour, there is another extra credit opportunity on SitLearn. It's called Extra Credit. That needs to be emailed to me by Monday at midnight as well. If there were any quizzes that you missed that you needed to make up because you had a legitimate reason to miss, that needs to be done by Monday as well. So to make up a missed quiz, you just schedule a 15-minute Zoom with me and I'll share the screen and you can take your quiz just like that. Any questions about those things? Okay, the study guide is online as well. If you want to fill it out and have me go over it, just shoot me an email. We'll do a Zoom chat and I can edit that for you. The final exam is the same format as the midterm. So basically it's a combination of multiple choice and essay questions. The only difference is for the essays, like, you know how I usually give you like 8 and you have to choose 4. The only way to do that for an online exam is that I will give you, like each question will be 2 essay questions and you just get to choose one of those. So you won't be able to see like all of them and choose the 4. I'll just give you like 4 questions of 2 questions each and you just pick one of each as we go through that. There is one required question on there. You only get to know that required question if you show me your study guide. Basically the students that have me edit the study guide, I tell them what the essay questions are. So I think it's like 1 required essay question, and then you get like 2 other prompts of 2 essay questions each, and you got to choose one of each of those. Like I mentioned before, you will need your webcam for your final exam. So I confirmed that you don't need to download any new software for this. Basically, you just open up the Lockdown browser just like you would for the quiz. And the only difference is, so you open up Lockdown browser, you navigate to the exam, and before the exam begins, it's going to give you a series of instructions. It's going to make sure that your webcam is on, and then it like wants to make sure that your face is in there so it knows that that's your face. That way it can let me know if the face leaves the screen or if another face comes in. I believe you have to show your workspace to let me know that you don't have, items out on there that would help you with the exam. And then it's going to flag any suspicious movements. So if you're consistently looking down or you get up and walk out of the room or if somebody walks in the room, it will flag you and it will tell me what part of the video you're doing that in so I can watch the video to make sure that you're not cheating. In the other class, I had a student ask, what do I do if I have to use the restroom? That's fine. The only thing that I ask is that you show me your phone, that you're leaving it, and you're not taking your phone to the bathroom. It will only be a problem if you're using the bathroom like multiple times during the exam. because to me, that means that you've got your notes in the bathroom. So if you've got some sort of medical condition, I don't know what we're gonna do about that. But that does seem suspicious to me. I had a student ask, he has to take his midterm in the living room, and he's like, what if my siblings walk by? The webcam will just alert me that there was the presence of someone in the room, and if I watch the video and it's just somebody walking by, that's fine. When it becomes a problem is if you've got someone like standing there the whole time, like reading you answers. So basically it records you while you're taking the exam, and it will flag any suspicious movements, and then I'll review the footage to confirm that you're cheating or not. Questions about that? Okie doke. All right, well, let us begin our last lecture. I know everybody's very sad about that. We are also taking our last quiz today, so that will become available at 10:50 this morning, and you will have until 10:50 p.m. to take your quiz. Let's see, we have, I see Oz. Is Brian Hall in here? I don't see Brian Hall or Brian Bolchez. So hopefully they, oh, there you are. Okay, so we have at least 2 of the 3 Jeopardy champions. So first place gets 3 extra credit points on the exam. Second place gets 2, and if Brian Hall shows up third place, we'll get 1 extra credit on the exam. So what we're gonna do is at the end of class, we'll just have Oz and Brian Squared stick around to take their last quiz.
Is it 3% or is it 3 like points?
3 raw points. So like, you know how my exams are always out of a weird number of questions? Yes, I think like it's out of 67 points. So if you get like a 60 out of 67, it'll be a 63 out of 67.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, Dr. Hill.
Yes.
Did you talk to Dr. Hefner?
Oh, yes, that's the other thing. She told me how to do it, so we can do that as well. So the course evaluation, as long as 75%, she told me it was 70. Whoever said 30 is a liar. As long as 75% of you guys do the course evaluation, I'll give you an extra point. But the same thing still stands. Like, you can only do 2 out of 3. So if you didn't go, the only people that can do the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia extra credit are those that did not go on the jail tour. Does that make sense?
You know how many people have done the course eval yet?
How many people?
Like what percentage we're at right now?
I didn't look yet. But I'm gonna, so on Sunday, I'm gonna send my normal Sunday email, and I will say, you know, we don't have class on Monday. I'll remind everybody about the course eval, extra credit, and then the other 2 things that are due in the makeup quizzes. So I'll remind everybody about all that stuff with a group email on Sunday, because that was a concern for my other class as well. They were like, only half the kids are here. How are they going to know to do it? So I'll send an email, but you have to rely on your classmates as well. It's a gamble. But I'm sorry, I have no idea how many have done it so far. Any other questions? All right, let's begin our last lecture. Okay, so just a quick reminder about what we've talked about so far. So this week we are talking about desistance, and the last thing we talked about on Wednesday was the Liverpool desistance study, which is where we're going to pick up today. So just a quick reminder, what this study did, there we go, was it found 2 groups of people, those that persisted in crime and those that desisted, and then matched them as closely as possible. And they found that there were very few differences between them. They had the same personality traits, same criminogenic backgrounds. And so then what they did was extensive interviews with each of the members to see if there was a difference in the way that they viewed the world. Because there was something different between these people. Some of them were able to stop crime and some of them were not able to stop crime. So this study was trying to determine what is different between them, especially considering that they all kind of looked the same in terms of the normal variables that we use. So let's pick up where we left off. So if the Per sisters and the D sisters had such similar characteristics, what was different about these two groups? So the people that persisted in crime, the ones that did not stop, had a subjective view of themselves that the researchers began to call the condemnation script. So let's go through the sort of subjective frame of mind that these offenders had, that the ones that were not able to stop committing crime. So the first thing that they all the sort of message that they conveyed was that they felt that they were doomed to deviance. So all of these offenders said that they were generally sick of offending, they were sick of prison, they were sick of their position in life, but there was nothing that they could do about it. So they said they were doomed to deviance, that they felt powerless to change their behavior because of drug addiction or poverty or a lack of education or social prejudice or something. They felt like all of the factors that were similar amongst the two groups, they felt like those factors made them doomed to deviance forever. So they kind of viewed themselves as sort of a victim of society, that there was nothing that they could do to change their position in life. So they said that they wanted to change, but they didn't have a choice, that they were doomed to this life. So the active offenders in the sample largely saw their life scripts as being written for them a long time ago, and that there was nothing that they could do to change their status in life. So they seem to view these important turning points, these sort of characteristics that they had, as things that just happened to them that they didn't have any control over. So a really great example of this sort of narrative came from one of the offenders in the sample, who said that when he was a kid, he got along with the good kids and he got along with the bad kids, and he could have gone either way. But when the judge decided to send him to juvenile detention, the judge made the choice for him, right? So he was sort of taking this situation that somebody could have turned around and said, hey, I don't care for this lifestyle in prison, I want to change my life. But to him, he saw it as something that happened to him that set him down a path that he could not get off of, right? So he says that these offenders see no hope for change. Somebody else is in charge of their life, that this negative life has been handed to them, and they are doomed to this lifestyle of deviance. So they see no hope for change. And they've generally sort of accepted this fate. So a lot of the guys kind of have this frame of mind that, like, when they get out of prison, they know it's only temporary because of their circumstances. They're like, well, there's nothing I can do. This is my life. I know I'm going to wind up back in prison at some point, right? So they feel like they are doomed to deviance, that there's nothing that they can do to change their life. So because of this sort of subjective view, a lot of them will exhibit behaviors and say phrases that indicate that they're trying to escape the burden of choice. So let me elaborate here. So they kind of see themselves as victims of society. So negative things have happened to them that have set them on this path of deviance, and they can't seem to get off of it, and therefore they are a victim of society. So the other problem with that is, when they see themselves this way, they feel like they never have any choices, right? They feel like it's not their choice to stop doing drugs because they're addicted. They feel like it's not their choice to stay out of prison because the judge makes the choice for them, right? Then once they're in prison, all of their decisions are made for them, so they don't have any choice. So for them, coming out of prison and intentionally sabotaging their chances of a life of freedom, to them, that is being able to take some of this choice back. So again, remember, when they get out of prison, they feel like it's just a matter of time before they go back because they're doomed to deviance and they don't have control over their circumstances. So in their sort of twisted view, the only way that they can make a choice is they get to choose when they go back to prison. They know it's inevitable, so they would rather fail on purpose and be in control of when they go back than just living in fear of whenever this is going to happen. The other reason that they do this is because it's less stressful to intentionally fail than it is to try really hard at doing something and fail anyways. So remember, most of these offenders have spent most of their life in and out of prison. And these guys that persist feel like when they get out of prison, it is just a matter of time before they go back. They know that they are doomed to deviance because that's the way they see their life, that they can't change their life. They're a victim of society. And to them, it is less of a blow on the ego. And this makes sense. Like I see students do this sometimes. When you tell someone that you or your family and you let it be known that you are trying really hard to reach a goal and then you fail, that is so much more stressful than saying, well, I didn't even try in the first place, right? And that's kind of what these guys will do, is they've spent their whole life in and out of prison and they're so tired of disappointing their family that when they come out again, in their mind, they know they're going back at some point. So they don't want to tell their family members, this is it. I'm really going to turn my life around. I'm going to change. This is it. I'm like going to try really hard. To them, they would rather just say, well, I failed on purpose. Like I didn't actually try. Like I wasn't trying. So a lot of them will come out of prison with this idea that eventually they're going back, and they will self-sabotage with drugs and alcohol so that one, they can control when they go back, so they have a little bit of choice, but also it's less stressful and less of a blow on their ego to say, I didn't actually try, than to admit to their family that they were trying and then they failed. So the last thing that these guys do a lot is sort of talk about things that researchers have referred to as offending wisdom. So this is kind of similar to the doom to deviance. These guys feel like they have a clear picture, a clear understanding of what the good life looks like, but they don't feel like they have the ability to get there on their own because they're doomed to deviance. So they view themselves as victims of circumstance. They claim they have this picture of the good life. They know what it looks like, but it's just not possible for them to get there because they are doomed to deviance and their life scripts were written for them a long time ago. And the irony of the situation is that they're probably right. The condemnation that these persistent offenders, the condemnation script that these persistent offenders have for themselves may not be an accurate assessment of reality, but it certainly conforms to societal wisdom about deviance, criminality, and the measure of a person's personal success. So whenever you're doing criminological research, we know that the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So somebody that's committed a crime in the past is likely to do it in the future. So, and a lot of it has to do with this idea that these guys feel like it's not up to them, that they don't have a choice, that eventually they're going to wind up, that they know what this good life looks like, but they personally can't get there because of all of these things that have happened to them in society. They don't see it as they're in control of their own circumstances. So this is the condemnation script from the Liverpool Desistance Study. Those offenders that persisted in crime, where they looked the same on the outside with all of these normal variables as the desisters, the persisters had this frame of mind that the researchers were calling the condemnation script. And the reading gives you the other side, which is the redemption script, the frame of mind, the subjective view of the offenders that were able to quit crime, right? So the only difference between these two groups of people was the way that they thought. So just in terms of policy implications, who can remember which is the rehabilitation program that has had the strongest effect across most sample of offenders this entire semester?
Dogs.
The
cognitive behavioral therapy.
Exactly. And what does cognitive behavioral therapy seek to change? What are cognitions? It does change behavior. What?
Your thoughts. Try to change your thoughts and the way you think about things.
Exactly. So this all kind of makes sense, right? If cognitive behavioral therapy is attempting to change the way that you think, this is probably why we've seen the strongest effect size, especially when we look at it in terms of this study right here, right? So these offenders look the same on the outside, but the only thing that is different is the way that they are thinking. So if we can fix this internal thought process, get rid of this condemnation script and replace it with the redemption script, we might be able to make some changes. So the last thing we're going to look at today, so that was a qualitative study, so a bunch of interviews and things like that. There was another study that tried to do this similar idea, but in a quantitative data set, like with numbers. So this study was done in 2016, and the goal here was to provide a quantitative test of the notion that changes in yourself or your identity are a major factor in the process of desistance from crime. So they took a sample of 12 to 31-year-olds and followed them for a long period of time. And their independent variable, the thing that they were looking to see if it affected desistance, was their personal identity. So they gave these people in the sample 5 really in-depth interviews over the life course and over a long period of time, and then turned those interviews into numbers. So a lot of times with qualitative interviews, you will ask an open-ended question, which is a question that doesn't have an answer subset for you to fill out. So you'll ask them, how do you feel today, right? And they tell you. Well, this study used closed-ended questions. So it would say things like, do you think of yourself as a good question on a 5-point scale? 1 would be never, 5 would be always, right? So that's how they were able to quantify it. These people were saying, I feel like to this answer, I'm a 3 or whatever. So they were asking all of these questions about personal identity and having them fill out, 1 through 5, how they felt about that. And then they were also collecting control variable information, stuff like we see right here, their background, their criminal record, drug abuse, age, race, sex, all of those other things that we usually look for. And what they found was that pro-social identity, so thinking that they are a good person and not a troublemaker, tends to increase over time and plateau in the mid-20s. So that's the first thing this study showed, is that your identity can change, right? Which is a good thing, because otherwise cognitive behavioral therapy wouldn't work so well, right? So we need to be able to show that we can change the way that you see yourself. So what they found was that identity remained a significant and robust predictor of desistance. So individuals that had more pro-social identities are less likely to engage in crime when compared with individuals with less pro-social identities. In that, as a person's individual pro-social identity increased, they were less likely to engage in crime. And all those other variables that they included, it didn't matter how many more variables they threw into this equation, this measurement of pro-social identity was significant across the board. So it stayed a robust predictor of desistance. All right, let's talk about some policy implications. So the first one should be pretty obvious, that correctional programming needs to focus on cognitive behavioral treatments, right? So we've seen thus far all semester, we have seen that these programs seem to work the best. In this lecture, I like to give this lecture last because I think it brings some sort of closure to that, so that you can kind of understand why cognitive behavioral therapy seems to be so effective. So the first policy implication is that correctional programming should definitely focus on cognitive treatments. And the last two deal with solidifying these identity changes. So we already know from this study that identity can change over time, right? And if we can change your identity to be more pro-social, to be more like the redemption script and less like the condemnation script, there are several ways to sort of solidify that change, right? So one of the ways to solidify that change is through redemption policies. So these are sort of rites of passage ceremonies that help the offender once they have changed this frame of mind to keep it. So a really good example of a redemption policy, we do this with a dog park. Well, it's not, we actually don't do it in South Carolina. They were only doing it in Florida. Of the 2 states that I've done extensive research, I only saw it in Florida. I have not seen it in South Carolina. But in Florida, they would do graduation ceremonies. So the inmates get the dogs for like 8 to 10 weeks. And you put them through a training program. And at the end of the training program, they would have a little graduation ceremony for the dog and the offender. And they would invite members of the public into this ceremony, which is why South Carolina doesn't do that. They were concerned about sneaking contraband in. But also, if you were adopting one of the dogs from these inmates, you were invited into the prison to watch this ceremony and to meet with the guy that trained your dog, and they're going to tell you all about the dog, so on and so forth. That right there is a policy or a program that sort of solidifies this identity change. It makes them feel more like a member of society, more like a pro-social person, right? Other programs that can solidify this new identity change are restorative justice programs. So these are programs that help offenders reach their goals and build this narrative identity. So things like victim offender mediation, or any sort of rehabilitation program that helps them reintegrate into society and solidify this new identity. That can really help with the cognitive changes that we make if we can include these other programs to solidify this new identity. Solidifying the new identity, that's a really big thing within labeling theory research as well. All right, questions? No questions? Okay, so just quick reminders. You gotta take your quiz today, with the exception of my Brian's and Oz. I don't see Brian Hall. So it looks like it's just gonna be battle to the death between Oz and Brian. So first place winner will get 3 raw points, second place will get 2. Everybody else needs to take their quiz online. Same as always, you need to use the lockdown browser. I'll email everybody on Sunday with a reminder of the things that are due on Monday, and we do not have class on Monday. I will also send a reminder closer to the exam date to just remind you when the exam is happening and about all the webcam stuff and how, you know, if you're going to use the bathroom, show me your phone, so on and so forth. Any questions for me? Oh, one other thing really quickly. So when it comes to adding the extra credit points, since it's all through the quizzes, I always wait until they're all graded. So I'm hoping to get them graded, you know, Saturday or Sunday, something like that. So starting maybe Sunday evening, if you could take an inventory of your quiz grades, we will see some changes after that. So when it comes to making those grade changes, if you went on the jail tour, I'm not going to individually email you and let you know which quiz I changed. The only people that get individually emailed are ones that send me the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia extra credit, just so that they know that I have received their assignment. So when I go through their assignment and make a grade change, I'll respond to your email and say, hey, I replaced quiz 2. But with the jail tour, I mean, that was like 60 something students. So I literally will just pull, if I see your name on there, I pull up the grade book and I just go across until I see the lowest quiz grade score and I change it. So just make sure that you sort of take an inventory this weekend of what your quiz grades look like. Because if you wait a week or so to look, it's not going to look like it changed because I probably will have already gotten to it. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, questions? All righty. Well, I hope we're back in the fall. I hope to see you around the halls. When I said in the last class, I said, I hope I see you next fall. A lot of students thought I meant, I hope you fail and you're back in my class. That is not what I mean. I mean, just around campus. So your study guide is up. If you want me to take a look at it, I'm happy to do that. Just shoot me an email. We'll schedule a time to go over it, okay? All righty. See you guys around the hallway in the fall. Thanks for a lovely semester. Sorry it had to end this way. Oz and Brian, stick around. Goodbye, everybody else. Just waiting
Because
for
we
the
got two
other two.
spectators watching us.
I see that. Get out of here, Jeremy and Ryan. What are they doing?
We need to have our things on mute.
No.
They may just like fell asleep or something during the class.
What are they doing? Can I kick them out? How do I do that?
Yeah, I think you can boot them.
Hold on, more. Remove. Yeah. There we go. Okay. All right, are you guys ready?
I think so.
Okay, so just like pop your hand up and we'll go from there. Thank you for dipping so I can watch that, Brian. God damn it, that's so
And no shirt
I
on.
like want to make you lose by default from that.
It's relaxing me.
Your
Dr. Hill,
lips gonna fucking fall off. What?
Dr. Hill, do I have to take my shirt off like Brian?
Oh my God, you guys, like
I was working out, Oz.
between the dipping and the no shirt and
That's why I had my camera off the whole time. I'll turn it back off.
no, I need to just God damn it.
Now it's up.
All right, let's begin. Okay, here's the first question. Oz?
Like the ability to maintain the resistance.
There we go. Yes, that is correct. Okay, let me just mark down that you two are playing. Okay, here we go. Brian?
Is it sociogenic?
Mm-hmm, that is correct. All right. Brian?
Is it false?
Nope. Oz?
True.
Yep.
Kind of a given.
That exact same thing happened in the last class too.
I thought that they couldn't get like a pool of similar people, like that was messed up or something like that. Didn't you?
No, what happened was it was hard to get those first samples. Like they thought they had a group of
Oh, because they
dissenters.
kept desisting, yeah. Or
They would commit a
going back
crime and
in
move
time.
over. But once they had that solid group, remember, they all looked the same.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Okay.
Yeah.
It's neck and neck.
All right, here we go. This one got the other class too.
Just a weird guess, but is this where he's talking about like the cliche in Hollywood movies where like the one dude in the group of bad guys who's like smart is the one who's like not going to commit the crime?
I have no
something.
fucking clue what you're talking about.
Like he's talking about like a cliche in movies at one point about how like there's a group of bad guys and one of them is like really handsome and like witty and everything and he won't commit the crime. No?
No,
Is it the opposite of condemnation?
it is, but you need the word. Don't be looking it up either.
No, I'm not. Is it like if you condemn someone, would it be like the approval script or something like that?
I said it twice in lecture today. And it was in the reading, which I assume you two did not do.
I guess I just read the wrong paragraph.
Okay, really? It was the name of the chapter. Yeah.
The assistance script?
No.
Dang it.
Characteristic script?
The what?
Characteristic script?
No. Do you concede defeat?
Yeah, I accept
Yeah.
it.
It's redemption.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Redemption script. All right,
And then that one
here we go. Brian.
is correctional institutions should implement cognitive behavior programs because they yield the best results.
Very good. Now it's tied. Now I got to come up with another question because neither of you knew the fucking answer. Let's see.
Nervous.
yeah, no, I'm on the edge of my seat.
My heart's
couch.
pounding.
Okay. All right. Name one of the things that the offenders in the condemnation script do. Brian.
In the condemnation script, is it that they like say that they are bound for committing crime, like it's part of their identity,
Mm-hmm.
like they have no choice really?
Yes, exactly. You're trying to say they were doomed to deviance.
Yes.
Yes, that I recognize what you were saying. Yes. Very good. Brian, you are our winner. Oz, you are the runner-up. So Brian, you get 3 extra credit points. Oz, you get 2.
Yes.
Woohoo.
Brian Hall gets 0 because he is a class skipper.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He knew he had to take this too.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought like
Right.
he always had the point guaranteed and just didn't want to show up.
Maybe he's in a time change or something.
He's not. He's sleeping.
Just trying to help him out.
I'd be willing to bet my life he's sleeping. And I saw Devin take a phone call during class, and I was wondering if he was calling Brian to be like, get your ass here, but I guess not. So congratulations, gentlemen. You are the Jeopardy champions. Do you have any questions for me?
I just wanted to say that I'm gonna set up a time for the study guide.
Okay,
Yeah,
It'll
me too.
probably be like later next week though.
that's fine.
Yeah,
Just shoot
fine.
me an email. We'll schedule a time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, gentlemen. I'll see you later.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye, guys.
Bye.